Hello again, welcome back everyone. Liquorhound here with you, and thank you for joining me for another year-end wrap-up video. That's right, we have blinked and another year has gone by, and now we're going to showcase my favorite spirits that I've tasted throughout the entire year in each respective category. Of course, as just like the shelves behind me in this table, space is limited, so I only, I don't include every like minuscule category, but all the heavy hitters are going to be well represented. So hopefully you can find your category that you're interested in, and there'll be a selection there that you like. Now, as always, I do not include heavily allocated, super hard to find items. So if it's a 61 bottle cask of a cask strength rum that was fantastic, it's not going to be in here. If it's George T. Stagg, William LaRue Weller, Russell Reserve 15, the 13th Colony 15th anniversary, some of those four gates were fantastic this year. But they're not going to be in here either because you're going to have to, not only will you most likely not find them, but if you do find them, they're going to be priced probably 10 times what they're really worth. So I don't promote that. That's not what this channel and this video at the end of the year has ever been about. And so we're going to continue with things that you can hopefully actually find with a little searching. But these are probably products that you wouldn't have necessarily thought of. I know some of these I wouldn't have picked them, like just seeing them on the shelf. I don't know what that's like. But I have run in so many circles with so many people that I taste, again, thousands of spirits, and these have really blown me away. So that's what this is about, and that's what we're going to be talking about. Now, if you don't necessarily like spending, the price that, let's say like this one right here is $100, I'm going to give you a lower cost option, hopefully in each and every category. I will talk about things that maybe I don't showcase, like there's going to be in here, there was a Nikka coffee malt. No, yes, coffee malt that I don't have the bottle. I love that whiskey. So I'll talk about it, but I'll do that throughout, and it's just going to happen as it happens in my head. So it's going to pay for you to actually listen to the whole segment, but hopefully, this really helps make you get out there and find some fantastic purchases and things that are going to really impress yourself and anybody you pour them for. So, Canadian Whiskey of the Year. It's going to go to J.P. Weiser's 24-year-old. This is a cask strength, 115 proof Canadian whiskey at only $100. Should be in everybody's bar. If you feel like spending more than $100, they do offer a 27-year-old at about $180 and a 42-year-old at about $400, $450. I've tasted them. They're both fantastic. They're worth it. It's just a matter of how much do you really want to spend on that product. But maybe you're just a person that, you know what, I always drink Crown. I'm looking for something to expand. I like Crown and Coke or something like that. What else could I do? Well, this is one that can do that blending aspect, but it also can be sipped. Canadian Club 100% rye at only $20. Yeah, guilt-free as far as mixing with something, but 100% rye distillate. There's no neutral grain, basically like high-proof vodka added to your whiskey as some of those would do. All right, Japanese Whiskey of the Year. Shibui 10-year-old in a white oak cask. The Shibui 10 white oak is a single grain whiskey, but it's not corn or wheat or rye like you would typically find. This is going to be rice distillate. Now they take that rice distillate and it's koji inoculated. So rice distillate in itself is typically soft and sweet-ish, and this one has that subtle sweetness and creaminess to it, but the koji inoculated aspect of it adds a rancio tone that I typically only find in old cognac, old Armagnacs, where they go into this earthiness, subtle, almost like a mushroom characteristic. So you get that sweetness in with that savory mushroom kind of earthiness thing, and then you get this big vanilla, this big coconut hitting from the white oak casks. So this thing, it's great. It's singular. There's not anything else other than the other age stated versions like the 15 and 18 and the 23 and the 30 that have this kind of aspect, but nothing else really does. So that's going to be my Japanese Whiskey of the Year. Now the Nikka from the barrel. If you can't find that one, this is only about $65. It's been a staple in my bar forever. It's a blend as far as like it's, grains, different grains and malt together. But if you're a single malt guy and you're looking for a Japanese single malt, I don't recommend spending too much money, so I'm going to go with the Yamazaki 12. Yamazaki 12-year-old nowadays is about $140. Back when I used to buy these things, I mean, I've seen them as low as $25, $20 back then. But we're at 140. I don't recommend paying too much more beyond that, because once you start hitting that territory, and if you feel like, you know, some Haikushu or something is going to cost me 300, or the Yamazaki 18 is going to be 600 or something, just go into single malts. You can get some fantastic single malts that are actually going to kind of wreck that one. So, all right, going into world whiskeys of the year, we're going to go with Indri this year. And Indri made such a big impression with me at first with this runner-up. The honorable mention is going to be the Indri Triple Cask. And this one is a low proof version. I think it came out at about $40. Now it's about 60 or 65. Fantastic. Lots of kind of peach and apricot, nectarine type aspect to it with a lot of exotic spices. But then I tasted the Drew, the cask strength version of it. That's going to be my world whiskey of the year, is the Indri Drew at about $100, $115, somewhere in there is what I found it at. So well worth that little bump up for the cask strength version. Of course, if you don't feel like spending that 115, or even the, well, this is going to be about the same as that 60. The Amrit Fusion is still an old faithful for me. Still a really good whiskey. So that's going to be another option for you if you can't find one of the other two Indris. All right, Irish whiskey of the year, Ballykeefe Pot Still Irish. The Ballykeefe Pot Still is $100. It's kind of hard to find, but you can find it out there. But well worth it, because pot distillate just adds such great mouthfeel and viscosity. And then you get those great Irish whiskey kind of notes when they're older. They start getting a little tropical. This has some of that. Runner-up is going to go to the Bushmills 10 Reserve in a Burgundy cask. Now, the Burgundy cask Bushmills is only $60. Look at that color. It's rich. The only kind of slight, and the reason it didn't win was because there was this little twinge of sulfur, and not in a bad way. It's more like somebody burnt a matchstick at the other end of the house, and you kind of catch that little whiff. It has a little bit of that to it. Doesn't affect me as far as the palate. I still love that whiskey. I just want you to know that that's in there, and that's why I didn't get the win, because this one is clean. This one's fantastic. All right. Here's a new category I didn't have last year, but there was some heavy hitters here. Blended whiskey of the year. So it's a Scotch. All these are Scotch, made in Scotland, but they're blended whiskeys. And the one that's going to win it all is kind of crazy, because the other two are really, matter of fact, I'm going to do this backwards. I'm going to show you the runner-up honorable mention. All right, Isle of Skye 25-year-old. This Isle of Skye 25, found it, I think I found it, yeah, Total Wines where these are found. It's only 40%, but every bit of whiskey in there is over 25 years old. Price point at about $165. Comes in a beautiful box, presentation box. I mean, this thing, all the way around, it's got the map on the back, the little story. Opens, got the map on the side. Beautiful box. So presentation, 10 out of 10 for them on that. And that's great whiskey. Of course, I've talked about this one before. Dewar's 21. Dewar's 21, for only $60, I see these, are phenomenal, okay? And I don't know how much longer they're going to do that, but as long as they're doing them, I'm going to drink them. So Dewar's 21 is going to be an honorable mention. Now, both those whiskeys are fantastic. And as far as the overall experience, they're going to be better than what I name as the winner. But the winner, price to quality ratio, is going to take it. And it's the Fior blended Scotch whiskey. This thing right here, I mean, it's simple. It doesn't really tell you too much about it. You know, produced and bottled in Scotland. It's 43%, so it's 86 proof, veteran-owned business. But this is such a enjoyable blended Scotch, almost like the good Johnny Blues, you know, a little bit kind of back in the day, not way back, but, you know, the good Johnny Blues. They were good, but they were a little, you know, almost $200 even back then. This thing, I got that for $25, and it's great. So Fiora is going to get the win. But of course, if you can't find that, or if you feel like spending more, go with, the Dewar's 21. If you feel like stepping it up, go with the Sky 25. All right, crazy category. All right, single malt of the year. There was a lot of really good single malts this year. I'm going to mention one. Eagle Red did some great Ben Nevis single casks this year. But this one, from the day it came out to today, every time I taste this with friends, we're always like, The Bruichladdich 18-year-old, 100 proof 18-year-old at only about 100 and anywhere between 150 and 170, somewhere in there. This is fantastic single malt. And Bruichladdich, I mean, great distillery. They're each and every year they're doing fantastic stuff. Just remember, this one does have one of those glass tops, and I tell people all the time, don't like pry on them. Just use your thumb and give it a little press on the side, and it'll pop up without it flying out. But the Bruichladdich 18, phenomenal single malt, buttery, creamy, rich. It does not drink its proof. The one that everybody was talking about, and it's solid, the Glenglassaugh Sanded. Sanded is amazing for the price point at only about $65, $70. Beautiful bottle, nice, almost like a Tiffany blue hue to the box and everything. This is great, super tropical, love it. Another one that hit me kind of big was the Highland Park Cask Strength batch. This is number 4, I believe, at only about $90. Was great. So if you like peated whiskeys, this Highland Park Cask Strength at 90 will definitely do that. Another one that I tasted very early, because I think it dropped late last year, but here in Texas we got it right at the beginning of the year. The Talisker Cask Strength 2023 edition. This thing at $120, I believe, was, again, great. Talisker. Like, I'm not a big fan of the current 10, but this Cask Strength 23 I was. So love that one. If you see it out there, well worth it. This one, I showed up late. I only bought this because it was on sale. And at $200, if you feel like kind of celebrating and you love your peat head, the Laphroaig single casks have been really good. And they come in a nice little box too. It'll look like that. Now, the problem with this is I've seen them sitting around for $350 all year long. I just will not pull the trigger on a 10-year-old for $350. To me, that's ridiculous. So I waited, and one day I happened to see them go at about 200. And I thought, you know what, I'll take a shot at 200. And so I did. And it's a PX cask. And I've compared it to the Carchus PX in one of my videos recently. And it's just way more elegant. And it reminds me of old Laphroaig, where it's almost more fruit and malt than even the heavy iodine and tar and, peat. So it's there, but it's more in balance. Very, very elegant whiskey. All right, now we're into the big category, bourbon. Bourbon of the year is going to go to Elijah Craig. This one is the B524. That's right, B524. I loved it this year. It had almost like those Boston baked bean candies element to this one. I thought it was fantastic. The Stag, B24 Stag. I love that one too. That was like cherry cola, and I don't have that bottle, but I love that bottle. And to be honest, those two would have been competing for my top spot, but I think I still would have given it to B524. All right, C924 just dropped. I haven't tasted it yet. Hopefully it's good. Normally those C's are. Honorable mentions, you know what? For the price to quality, I love Wild Turkey 101, and this Wild Turkey 70th at only $40, $40 to $50, somewhere in there, was great. It's supposed to be an 8 and 9-year-old, 101 proof. Yeah, a great grab. If you see that out there, it's worth it. One that I tasted early on that I kind of liked, and it was only $50, and it's barrel proof at like 107, was the James E. Pepper decanter. So if you see that out there for only $50, worth adding. Loves air, so give it a little time to open up. It gets really good. Let's see, 6th Street, coming out of Giddings, Texas, so kind of local to me. One of the barrel proof versions. I love the single. They don't really distill anything. Everything they're doing is sourced. They age up in Giddings, Texas, and then they bottle it. This is a single barrel bourbon, 9 years old. Proof was 115.8 for this one, about $120. Okay, I like it. Really, really solid. Reminds me of that old MGP. One that surprised me this year was, you'll see it in a box like this, the old Emmer Toasted Barrel at Total Wine. And this thing, once it gets air, is fantastic because Emmer wheat, I mean, that's what the Daniel Weller is, and that's crazy priced, Weller. That's an 11-year-old. This is probably a 4 to 6-year-old, is what I'm guessing. But proof wise, it was 104 proof. And again, it just gets better with the more air it gets. So this one at 100, 120, it was somewhere in there depending on the sale, I thought was a great, great buy. All right. All right. Let's see. Heading into Rye Whiskey of the Year. Rye Whiskey of the Year. I blended it. Okay. Full disclosure, I'm the blender. I do this along with Jonathan and the rest of the family and all our staff there at Iron Root Distillery in Denison, Texas. This is the Nobleman. Now this, I'm showcasing batch 3 because batch 3 happened early in 2024 and we just released here, we are in late mid-November, batch 4 of this. This is a Tokai finished rye whiskey. Tokai being a Hungarian sweet wine, similar to Sauternes, right? But it's mostly 95.5 rye, so Indiana rye, blended with some Iron Roots rye that's 60% rye. It hasn't been released yet, but it is phenomenal. And it's pot distilled on the Iron Root side, their rye, in with that column, blended together, going into those Tokai casks for a year, a little over a year probably, and then we select the barrels, and that's what basically gets mechanically filtered. There's no chill filtration. And then bottled at 107 proof. Now you might be thinking, well, you're the blender. Come on, man. I mean, you gave that the win. Listen, the World Whiskey Awards, Whiskey Magazine, also named this batch, batch 3, the best American rye this year. I didn't have anything to do with that. But that's a great award, and we're super honored to get that. So it's just not me that's thinking that. Batch 3 is great. Batch 4, man, I go back and forth as which one I love the best between those two. Batch 4 almost has like an older whiskey, bookish leather tone on the back end that I love. And so if you see batch 4 out there, you should definitely buy it. If you see batch 3, buy it as well. If you're fortunate enough to see any of the others, if you see any Nobleman, you should buy it. Now, eventually we're going to turn it into a core product. Hopefully one day that'll be more readily available, but it's out there at Total Wine is the only place you'll ever find it. But hopefully you can snag one of those. If you can't, Cat Eye Distillery, oh, by the way, price point, $69. All right, the Magi, Cat Eye Distillery released this rye. Now, both of these are finished ryes because mine's in a Hungarian Tokai cask, and this one was in Oloroso and PX, but it's a blend of like, I want to say it's 6 and 7-year-old. Yeah, it's like 6 barrels of almost 8-year-old MGP rye, 1 barrel of 11-year-old French oak Polish rye, 1.5 barrels of a 21-year-old Canadian rye, and 2 barrels of a 22-year-old Canadian rye, and one of which was in a port barrel for a year. So distilled in Canada, Poland, and Indiana. So the Magi at $100 is great. But let's say you're not into finished ryes. You want just something a little more straightforward. Man, come on. Jack Daniel's barrel proof rye. Each and every year they do this. Each and every year, I think it's the best thing they do. Of course, the barrel proof bourbon can be good, but they're rye. And I love rye. That's actually, I almost think I gravitate towards younger ryes than I do the bourbons when they're younger because they just mature faster, okay? So another one, and this one was a little bit younger. This was an 8-year-old 6th Street rye. But again, cask strength, 124 proof single barrel, which I mentioned, 6th Street single barrels are really good. I even tasted the 6-year-old bourbon a couple weeks back. That was about $65. Really good. Their single barrels are where it's at. So this one at about $100 was well worth it. No finish at all. And another one, their own distillate, Driftless Glen. Golly, Driftless Glen at cask strength. This happens to be, what's it 2, what's it 4? Ranch Mart. That was in near St. Louis. This is a 117 proof rye whiskey, single barrel. Love that custom bottle. It's got a couple of fingerprints that you can almost just grab it right by it. But yeah, fantastic Ryes. They do have a unique component where it's a little bit of like a white chocolate eucalyptus tone in theirs. Whiskies. Love it. All right. Cognac of the year is going to go to Tiffin XO. This one is only $90. It's an XO, so it's over 10 years old typically. And I want to say it's up to 18 in that blend, maybe 25. But it's so well done. You know, I'm not positive if there's any dosage, any coloring or sweeteners added, but when I tasted it, if there is, it's very, very minimal, and it's just a creamy, enjoyable spirit. Love that one. The one that was runner-up that I was really, it was in the lead until I tasted that one. The Frappin Cigar blend. Now, the Frappin Cigar Cognac it's again, single estate. It's only 40%. $130, but to me this one tastes like it's dry cellared. So dry cellars don't mature to me as fast as wet cellars, and so this one does feel a little younger, and it's definitely a little lighter in profile than even this one. Of course, if you feel like spending more money, $275, come on, Ferrand SDA Selección de Angels or something, that thing is great. It has always been great. The presentation as far as the packaging and, the top of that cork is just beautiful on any bar. So if you feel like going, top tier, that's where I would recommend you going. All right, Armagnac. Now, Armagnac, I could say the Delord 25-year-old for $75. It's won before a couple times probably. It could win again. It's just a great bargain. But the, Goudelin Boss Armagnac is great. Now, they have different ones. They have an XO around $100. This is a 30-year at about $200, $225. But any of them have been really, really solid. So the J. Goudelin at Bass Armagnac at $100 to $300 is going to be my overall winner. Chateau de la Grangerie has been really good. K&L Spirits has been doing a lot of these. Any different age. This happens to be a 1975 that was 46 years old in oak. I love these. And they do different ages. You don't have to spend what this was. This was like close to 200. You could go cheaper and get the $100 ones, or if you want the older 52 years, it just depends on how much you want to spend. I will say this 46 is already verging on a lot of oak, so I don't really recommend you go too much older than that. 20 to 30 in Armagnac is really, I think, the sweet spot. Okay? All right, that's all the Armagnacs I have, but now we're going to go into tequilas. Tequila, great category, and this one was so tough because as much as I really wanted to give, and I'm going to show it first, the El Gran Legado, still strength the win because this is a Blanco. There's no possibility of anything being added here. It's fantastic. And at only about 70, I think it's $80. This was $80. But proof-wise, it was, where's it at? Right here. 108, 109 proof. 109 proof, $80. This is such pure spirit as far as I actually taste the cooked agave. When you taste cooked agave, it's almost like a sweet potato or a yam. And you actually you can taste that in this. And I love that about it. So I really wanted to give this the win all the way up until about a month ago when I ran into this guy. TC Spirits Extra Añejo, and I tasted the Blanco and I tasted the Extra Añejo, but this thing, oh my goodness, it just reminds me, it's not exactly, but when you taste this, it's very reminiscent of the old Tapatio Excelencias that were in the 1-liter dark bottles, right? And that's got a lot of color on it. And this is an 8-year-old aged tequila, certified additive-free tequila at $125. An 8-year-old, $125. That's why it gets the win. Because not only is it great, but any other 8-year-old, if you took a look at Fuente Seca or something like that, yeah, you're talking $300 at least going upwards. So that's an 8-year-old. Mi Casa did a 9-year-old small batch. That's a $300 bottle. It's really nice. It's 9 years old. $300, still kind of worth it considering Fuente Seca prices. That could have been in here. But the problem was space, and this one is going to definitely get that spot as far as my runner-up. honorable mention. And I see these out there. The Las Grimas El Sabino. This one is a Reposado. They do a Blanco Reposado, but it's 46%. And I think I see them out there because people don't know what they are. But Las Grimas is Cascoin. So if you like Cascoin, that's, you know, a really reputable distillery. And this is what it is, just a different brand that they're using. And they do it in different estates, right? And so this is a certain estate that's going on for this one. Again, Blanco Reposado, it doesn't matter. They're only about $65. Very, very delicious tequilas that don't have any kind of additives to them, right? No sweeteners, nothing like that. Now, another one that I loved, and this is a couple of Blancos coming up, G4, the Madeira 2024. This is the one that's rested a long time before it gets bottled. So, yeah, I love this one at about $80. Was fantastic as well, but to me, it doesn't beat that Legato. All right. Now, if you want to just spend, hey, I'm just looking for something to make margaritas with, you know, I want to spend a lot of money, and I'm not really too caring if it's, you know, Tahuna crushed or whatever. Well, I'm going to recommend this one, El Padrino 100 proof, available at Total Wine. I spend a lot of time in Total Wine because our brand is in Total Wine. So I'm in these stores, I'm talking to people, and I occasionally taste some of that stuff. This thing, this is what I mix, and when I'm making cocktails, whether it be margaritas or vampiros, I'm using this one because the 100 proof stands up. It doesn't get covered up by all the, you know, ingredients of a cocktail, and yet you still get that really nice agave flavor without breaking the bank. Again, this is like $30, $35. All right. All right. Moving on. Mezcal of the year. This one, it was kind of close. I'll say that, a little close. These two were fighting it out, but for a long time, months and months and months and months, probably going back to like March when I first had this one. The Ultramundo is fantastic. It is a little expensive. It's about 130, 135-ish, maybe 140. But the Ultramundo here has such a unique character of not only having kind of a buttery, funky tone that I love in mezcals when they go into a little bit of headed towards blue cheese, not heavy, but just a little fainty of that. I love that. This one has that. But it also has a lot of like sage and like cucumber skins, and it's very dry herbal, you know, and I love that about it. So this one is the most complex, and I found that everybody that has this one is really blown away by it. So that's going to get my win for the overall favorite mezcal. But if you want something that's just as funky, but a little more simple, the Derumbus Durango is going to get that call. This one is much cheaper than that one. I've seen this as low as $40 at Total Wine, at 42, right in there. But they do different bottles in different colors. You know, this is yellow here. They do a black one that was like Michoacan, and they do the different states basically that mezcals are made. And they get them made there. So, but this is the Durango, and this is the one that's going to be my runner-up at $42. It has that buttery, light funk smoke mezcal, but not heavy like an Espadín. These are more balanced, and this just doesn't have all that really kind of herbaceousness that this one has. This one doesn't have that. This one stays just kind of in that simple, funky, enjoyable, savory, smoky mezcal. Okay. All right. Rum of the year. This one wasn't too hard. That you'll normally see it on the shelf in a box like this. It's the Hampton Great House. Now this is the 2023. They do have a 2024, but here in Texas we haven't gotten it yet. Yes, we can order it in, but I haven't done that yet. We got this one this year, so this is going to be the win. My rum of the year, $125 from Hampton. No additives, nothing sugars being added. I do love that one for $125. Now, if you want to spend a little less than that, but you don't like that when they go kind of Jamaican, you know, the funky Jamaican rum, a little too deep water in the rum world for you, no problem. Another Total Wine I picked that I saw, El Dorado, single barrel 12-year-old. Now, this one is $100, but it's 106.8 proof single barrel. And I got to taste the 10, the 12, and I want to say they did a 15. But for the price of $100, I really like this 12. This is going to give you that little sweetness, that rich molasses, and almost going into like, what's that? Like the medjool dates, right? This one does that, but it doesn't go into like really over the top sugars and stuff like that. It's going to give you a big headache when you're done with it. Now, if you want to spend less money, still, come on. The Dorleast 14-year-old, even the 12 is really good, but the 14 at only $50, I think, is a great buy. And you can mix it, you can sip it. There's no, again, no sugars added, nothing like that. So Dorleast 14 is going to be another honorable mention. All right, heading into vodka. The vodka is going to be, yeah, the Vikra. It looks like Vikra here, but it's Vikra Lake Superior vodka. Now, this one is only $35. It's coming out of Minnesota. It's very hard to find, but creamy, well-crafted vodka. I mean, up there with some of like, you know, one of my other honorable mentions I'll show, you know, Stoli Elite, right? This is really solid, and it's still a really good price point. I want to say this one's like $60 right now. It's not too much, but this is $35, and I think it's more enjoyable than even that one. That one's going to be cleaner, but this one has that creamy, subtle vanilla, like that richness that almost some of those old belugas used to have. That one has it. Now, if you only want to spend, hey, I don't want to spend that much money. It's just vodka, right? Then go with this one, the Kruto Ukrainian vodka. Now, this one, I got to taste this one. They have a blue top as well, the blue labeled one. That's supposed to be the more expensive one. I want to say it's like $30, but the red top was the one I actually found more enjoyable. And of course, I'm tasting these without chilling, right? These are straight room temp. And this one didn't have any kind of weird ethanol kick or anything like that to it. And it was only $15. So this is the one that is a great, great buy, okay? Gin of the year. This category, back and forth again. But Isle of Harris is going to get the win. Isle of Harris gin, they're using a lot of those Scottish botanicals in it, and it's got that beautiful infused with sugar kelp from the outer Hebrides. So I think they're doing some of the best gins over there right now, because my runner-up, while this one is only like, I think it's like $50, I think it's well worth it. So definitely add that to the collection. It's going to work in any cocktail, whether you're doing like a, you know, simple martini, something like that. It's real clean, real clean. Now, a cocktail, calling for a old Tom gin, right? A barrel-aged gin. Now we have the Botanist Isla Cask Rested Gin, 6 months in cask, 22 botanicals from the island of Isla. And this thing is about $80, and it is great gin. It's not as clean as this one, but it's still very, very sippable. And you could pour this on a rock with a lemon twist, and it's going to be fantastic. At only $80 from Bruichladdich, the same guys that won it over here. I mean, this is a great distillery, and everybody knows that. But they're expanding out into gin. They've had the Botanist, and that's actually, I think I've named that once about 4 years ago, 5 years ago it won. But now they have the Rested one, and I think this definitely deserves an honorable mention. And if Isle of Harris wasn't doing such great things over there, it would have got the win in the gin category. I hope you enjoyed this video wrap up at the end of each year. If you did, join me over at patreon.com/liquorhound, where you can help support this channel, because that's the only way I'm able to keep it going, because it's with the help of my patrons at only like $5 a month that I'm able to purchase these bottles so that I can review for you and bring you this kind of content at the very end, so you can have faith in my selections for you. So if you did, join us over there at, again, patreon.com/liquorhound. But if you didn't, and you're just here on YouTube, you know, you're going to get the videos 2 weeks later. And in this, the way that lined up this year, you're going to get it after Christmas. But the patrons are going to get it before Christmas. So hopefully you can, again, join us over there. So you get these videos 2 weeks early. You get them ad-free. There's a whole big review library there, a year's worth of videos that I was shooting every week, or twice a week, I think, back then, that never aired on YouTube. And that's on there for your viewing pleasure. So hopefully you can join us over there. But if not, I greatly appreciate each and every one of my viewers. Again, this is a labor of love, and I do it for y'all. So I hope you enjoy it. Everyone have a great day, and cheers.